Hello, I'm Tanya from Teach English Online, and welcome to part 2 of the 5-part series of how to teach English online. So if you're just getting started or you're thinking about it, you're in the right place. Now, in the previous video, I talked about the basics of all 4 options. In this video, we're going to really dive into just how to teach English using Skype. So the cool thing about using Skype, which by this I'm also implying that you're doing it on your own, you have 100% of the responsibility, which also means you get to keep 100% of the profits. Skype is free, so you don't have to pay for it. You can use a service, PayPal. So if you're wondering how to accept payments, I typically use PayPal when I used to do it this way. PayPal's great. It's international access, and it's very simple. For this one, I would also recommend really think about what your guidelines will be. Do you want payment before the lesson? After the lesson? Do you have a cancellation policy? Is it 24 hours? How do you handle refunds? So these are all logistical things that you need to think about before you get started. You'll also learn as you go, but I find that doing your research before will help you focus on being a good teacher in the moment. And that's the other thing about teaching on Skype just on your own. Not only do you get to keep 100% of the profits, you're also in charge of 100% of the responsibility, which could be a pro if you're really good at business, or it could be a little bit of a con. And I say a little bit because there are resources for you to learn, including this channel. So with that, I mean the logistics, like I said, using PayPal, making sure you have your guidelines. Where are you going to advertise yourself? Are you going to use a website? Can they book directly through the website? Are you going to refer people to your email? You want to think about time management. And this plays into your rate. You're not only charging for 30 minutes or an hour of a lesson. That rate also has to include potentially, it could be as little as 15 minutes. Sometimes it can take an hour or two to coordinate and to lesson plan. So you want to take that into account. When you're doing it this way, there are more things to consider. For example, like I said, lesson planning. If you have students that are all one level, great. You might be able to use the same content for all of your students. If you're teaching beginners and advanced and you're doing test prep, those are totally different things that you need to prepare for each lesson. So I just want you to be realistic in that you might think, oh, great, I get to charge, $20 or $50 an hour. That's amazing. But it's not just that hour. There are a lot of things that are incorporated in the business of teaching online. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want to build a business. I just want to teach online. That's fine. This is kind of in line with that. You can just teach, one-off classes or group lessons using Skype, or you could also have this be part of a bigger business. This is not something you have to decide at first. Refer to your accountant, but typically in most states, you can just work for yourself and work on your own without establishing a business. When you want to hire other teachers or when you're really growing a business model, then you may want to talk to your accountant and see if you need to set up an LLC, for example. But in the beginning, if it's just you, just make sure you keep track of, that's the other thing. Keep track of your expenses if you have any, and keep track of your income. Because, if you're getting payment through PayPal, if you're teaching on Skype, these are all things that can be later, our friend, the IRS, if you're in the US, will eventually find you. So make sure that you're upfront with everything and you make sure you pay your taxes. Now, the other thing with Skype, you can just use Skype and you can, type quick notes in Skype. I find that that's a little bare bones. So if you're not charging a lot per hour, that might be enough. Or I don't want to say if you're just started, a lot of people ask me, do I need to have a degree in teaching English? Do I need to have certification? Technically, when you're teaching on your own online, you don't need anything. That being said, it pains me to say that because I hate when people say if you're a native speaker, you can teach online. I mean, we all know teaching is totally different than just knowing a language. So if you have no experience teaching and you don't have a degree in teaching or a degree in English, I would recommend get a certification online for TESOL or TEFL, which I'll include everything I'm saying in the video notes so you can confer. There are some that are in person that are thousands of dollars. However, you can also get certified online for less. I remember I found mine, even though I had degrees, I wanted to get just that extra certification because I needed it actually for where I was working. And I found it online at a very reasonable price on Groupon. So you don't have to spend a lot. Now, if you do have degrees or you do have experience, that's great. So now you just need to get used to the online component. Now, what I was saying earlier with Skype, you can just type like the words if they need to see them. Now, personally, I would recommend I use Google Docs. And so if you have a Gmail, you have access to this. And if you don't, get it. It's great because you have Google Docs. Those of you who love PowerPoint presentations, they have Google something else. And if you like Excel sheets, they have Google Sheets. Personally, I just use Google Docs. So I have one Google Doc per student, per client. And what I do is I share the link with them and I make sure that when you share it, that you put that they can edit. So what this does is you're on Skype, then you both open the Google Doc and it's live. They can see you typing in the document and they can type in there as well. I always tell my students, if you think of something that you want to ask me, go ahead and type it in there and that way you won't forget. So it creates this interactive platform that you can share with them. Not only that, but it makes it, I've also done emails. So I used to email them the notes. And I find that doing Google Docs is so much more organized because all of their notes are in one place. And remember, not everybody does or likes homework. So having everything in an easy to access place that's neat and you have like your template, then that increases the likelihood that they'll either check it out, maybe review it before lessons or after. So you want to facilitate everything. Now, my experience is working with adults online. Maybe you work with children. So that's something you really want to consider before you get started because that may or may not affect what you use. Maybe for a child, it might be hard to access Google Docs. For a teenager, it's probably okay. And for adults, it's awesome. Okay, so these are the benefits of using Skype. It's free to use. It's really fun. Ooh, the other pro. On Skype, the reason I use that versus other ones, because they do have other platforms. You can use Google Hangouts. You can use Zoom. I think Zoom you have to pay for if you're going to use it over 40 minutes. Google Hangouts can be pretty cool. You can do screen share with that one. I use Skype because most people have it, so that's always a plus. And now you can record it. Which, by the way, I have a course on how to use Skype and Gmail. So everything I talked about today, but maybe you're not super tech savvy or you are, but this is a little overwhelming. So if you want tutorials for everything I'm saying right now on how to set it up and how to use it, I'll even share with you my resources that I use for teaching, and I'll share with you my template for the notes. Check out the link for the course below. All right, in the comments section, let me know. Do you use Skype to teach? Is this something you would like to do? Or what's holding you back? What makes you think, maybe later, maybe not now? Remember, you want to make sure, especially with this option where you're 100% on your own, if you're doing this while you're thinking about quitting your job to do this, it does take a while to build a clientele for this to become steady income. Okay, so I don't want you to think you can quit your job and you're automatically going to have enough students to fill it up. There are things that people don't consider. Number one, time zones. What hours are you going to work? For example, if you live in North America and you want to teach clients in Asia, you're going to have to wake up really early or work really late at night. If you want to teach European students, that's going to be in your early afternoon, depending on where you live. So you want to make sure what hours are you willing to work? And that will help you identify who can you target. So you want to think about what age you're going to teach, what hours you're available, and what does that mean geographically. And then you need to get these students. And that's a process in and of itself, especially when you're on your own. So I typically recommend don't quit your job yet. I want you to keep your job and open up hours either before or after work or on the weekends. Start building up your clientele. Start getting referrals. Because when you're teaching online, it's not super stable. When you're doing it all on your own, people they go on vacations. Usually for winter break and summer break, you're going to have dips in income or people are going to go on vacation. There are ways that you can kind of protect yourself or maybe figure out ways to supplement the income. But that's something about teaching online that when you're 100% on your own, you're 100% on your own. These are things you need to think about, that income will fluctuate. So that either means you need to make enough during the high points to carry you through the low points, or figure out what you can do. Maybe figure out who would be a good target audience during your traditional low points. So that kind of sets it off. All right. So I hope that you feel encouraged. I will say this, it is a lot of work, but when you get going, it's pretty awesome, especially if you have either a good background in terms of education, if you're a good online teacher, or if you know, have been doing this for a while and you can start increasing your rates. The other thing I would recommend, a lot of people give trial lessons. My biggest tip for you, don't give your trial lessons for free. Charge at least $5. And the reason is when you give something away for free, it has been my experience 99.9% of the time, you're going to get, and it makes sense, you're going to get people that want free stuff. And oddly enough, they are not appreciative. They are not gushing and praising your amazing talent and generosity. They are really harsh critics where you think, seriously, I gave you this for free and you're going to tear me down. It's a very frustrating experience. And the kind of person that gets a free class from you is not the kind of person who will probably be willing to pay your rate for future lessons. So even if you set it as low as $5, $2, the fact that they have to enter their credit card information in PayPal, if you use that, the fact that they have to go jump through some hoops, it ensures that that will probably be the kind of person who will be more likely to want future lessons with you. So protect yourself. I'm telling you, especially when you get started, you might think, I need to do all of this for free and eventually it will pay off. You got to be smart. Okay. So I wish you the best of luck. If you have any questions about teaching using Skype, let me know. If you want tutorials and an in-depth breakdown of how to use Skype and Gmail and Google Docs, check out the course link below. And if you want to check out the other 3 ways of teaching online for more in-depth explanations like this one, check out the next video in the 5-part series. Bye.